Well, to you, good people of Africa, and thanks for joining us on yet another edition of the program Views on the Continent, brought to you by a Pan-African television. Today we take focus on the Republic of Cameroon, where the President of the Republic of Cameroon, His Excellency Paul Biya, on Wednesday, the 15th of April 2020, signed a decree reducing jail terms for prisoners all over the national territory. And we seek to ask this question, is it to solve the problem of overcrowding in prisons in the country, or is it an effort to curtail or to contain the further spread of the coronavirus that is actually causing or has caused panic all over the world? If you are just joining us, you are most welcome. This is an interactive program, a platform where you get to share your own opinion of what is making headline news, and today we are focusing on Cameroon, analyzing the recent decree of President Paul Biya. Without wasting much time, I'll go straight away to introduce who we have with us in the studio in the person of Mr. Ambe Valentine. Thanks for joining us in the studio.
Thank you, Clarice. Thank you, millions of televiewers across the globe. We are once more excited again to be on this platform to give our own contribution for the well-being of Cameroon, Africa, and the world at large. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. It's always a pleasure having you. Before we go into greater details, let's first of all listen to this report done by Rita Moto, throwing more light on this recent decree signed by the President of the Republic of Cameroon, Paul Biya.
In view of decongesting state prisons amid fears of the coronavirus outbreak, Cameroon's President Paul Biya has signed a decree ordering the commutation and remission of some prison sentences. The decree, signed Wednesday, April 15th, states that those who have been sentenced to death have their punishment reduced to a life sentence, while those who have been sentenced to life have seen their punishment reduced to 25 years, with remissions equally made. The measure concerns 11 categories of detainees. However, persons sentenced from corruption, rape, embezzlement, and acts of terrorism do not benefit from the remission of sentences. These affect some Anglophone crisis inmates such as Bibixi Mancho, parents, and other persons who spearheaded the struggle for Anglophone minority to gain equality and independence since early 2017. Embezzlers of state funds, as well as inmates like Siseko Ayuk and members of his self-declared cabinet jailed for state security-related crimes, are equally exempted. In application of remissions provided by the decree, minors within the meaning of criminal law who have been sentenced shall, in addition, benefit from 1/3 of the application remission. The commutation of sentences takes effect as from the date of signature of the decree, April 15, 2020, and the date also marks the starting point for the calculation of the remaining term of imprisonment to be served. All these, we must note, weighs in at a moment when the course of life across the globe is systematically being controlled by a world pandemic which has already recorded over 23,000 deaths worldwide. President Biya's recent decision to self-isolate at his Mbomeka palace and his 37 documented years of leadership, which allegedly hasn't met the aspiration of citizens, including his silent manner of handling the COVID-19 pandemic, has left many in disbelief. As of Wednesday, April 8th, Cameroon recorded over 848 confirmed cases, including 98 recoveries and 14 deaths. Suddenly on Thursday, the government, through its health minister Manauda Malachi, took the decision to stop giving updates on the infected cases. The efforts by Biya's government to fight the pandemic can nevertheless be undermined, though his response to the intensified call for the release of political prisoners and those of the Anglophone crisis is what leaves many in astonishment.
Thank you so very much, Rita Moto, for that detailed report regarding the decision or the decree signed by President Paul Biya of the Republic of Cameroon, reducing jail times for some prisoners. Of course, as we heard in the report and in our preamble, some prisoners may walk free again. Mr. Ambi, let's first of all give a holistic view of this decree. What do you think? What are your analysis analysis on this?
Well, Clarice, obviously, when something good is done, we are expected to appreciate at least before we start giving analysis. The idea alone for the president to sign a decree to release some prisoners is very much welcome and appreciative by most Cameroonians. But you see, as a political analyst, we have to get into the crux of the matter to understand if this thing is actually beneficial to the well-being of the Cameroonians or is a flash to entertain those who are very ignorant of the details as far as the nation is concerned.
Absolutely.
We have taken a critical survey. We are talking about, first and foremost, the fight against the COVID-19. The congesting prisons in Cameroon was not supposed to have even been coming up because of the COVID-19. We already have overcrowded prisons. So we're, first of all, advocating for prisons to be decongested because of overpopulation.
Absolutely.
People could die of heat, people could die of closeness, and all kinds of crimes could occur in the prison yard. We started advocating for that. Thank God it finally came up. But I must say that with the addition of the COVID-19, the parameters taken by the government or the president to decongest the prisons is something that is giving most of us concern.
Yeah.
If you look at it critically, a prison like the Kondengi prison in Yaoundé has about 3,866 inmates. Now we are talking about people who have been given sentence already. Now we are talking about people who have been given sentence already. There are people who have not even been called upon to be judged. There are others who have not been judged. Absolutely. Now we are talking about people who have been sentenced already. Within these 3,866 people who are based in Konegi Hospital, prison, only about 436 have been judged.
Very problematic.
Now, very problematic. It's really a bigger problem because most people don't seem to understand. They can be excited with the news, but those of us who understand the operations of things, who are not excited because there is no practical change in what is going on. In 3,866 persons, now 453 have been judged. We have a population of approximately 3,300 and something persons not yet judged, which automatically takes them out of this clemency.
Absolutely.
It takes them out of this pardon. It takes them out of this decree already. So if 3,866 persons in a place and 453 have been judged already, and we are talking about those who have been judged, so we are saying that the president has given a decree to free 453 persons, and not all of them are supposed to be freed.
Yeah.
Why? Because within them, there are political prisoners, there are also people who are considered as terrorists, there are also rapists, there are also homosexuals among them. So let's cut down the 453 and consider that there are some persons, around 200, who are not also part of it. So we are talking about...
Are you in other sense saying that this actually does not practically solve this problem of overcrowding? Because when you look at the people that stand to benefit from this decree, the amount or the number of people, beg your pardon,
it's not even 1/10.
So, what's the way forward?
That's what I'm trying to explain. Let me give the analysis of what, first of all, we are facing.
Absolutely.
Like I said, that's Kondengi alone. We're talking about the entire national territory.
Sure.
There are about 5,000 Anglophones who have been arrested as a result of the crisis rocking the northern and the south with the respective regions.
Sure.
Now, these 5,000 Anglophones, I can guarantee about 4,500 have not yet been judged. This automatically takes them out of this pardon. So if you look at it critically, it is a handful of prisoners who have been given this clemency, who have been given this pardon. Now, if at all they are going to free, it does not solve the decongestion problem. It equally does not solve the spread of the COVID-19. And I think the primary objective of this decree was supposed to solve these two major crises. Now, giving a solution to something that cannot solve the problem is not actually a solution.
Sure.
That's obvious. I cannot look at you sick of headache. Then I begin to take something like, let me say, Malox, which cures gastric, and gives to you who have headache. You will drink Malox and never get well. So this decree will not solve the decongestion problem as well as the spread of the COVID-19, because only a handful of the prisoners amongst the prison yards will have the opportunity to benefit from this clemency.
Okay, thank you so very much. And now, looking at it critically, like we already heard in the report and in our preamble as well, looking at it critically, some people who actually, some prisoners, let me put the right terms there, so some prisoners who actually gain freedom. And then we are looking at this very important aspect, state security. What if some prisoners who have already had judgment, like they come out and they are loose, they pose a threat to state security? Are there measures put in place before a decree like this is signed? Are there measures put in place to make sure that the prisoners being on the loose in the territory or the national territory does not actually pose a security problem?
Well, it's obvious that when people go to prison, they learn lessons, but not everyone that goes to prison will repent.
Absolutely.
Now, when they come out of prison, it's obvious that many people have gone to prison, come back, and they still remain threats to the society. Those are normalities that normally happen in the society. But you see, looking at the situation right now on ground, I don't think any security measure has been put in place to curb these people who are coming out of the prison. Crise, I must be very sincere with you that if we want to do critical analysis of this thing, you will realize that most people will not even come out of prison. It's a decree that if you look at it from a shallow point of view, or from an external point of view, you can be excited and be carried with the wind that, oh, something good has been done. But if you do critical analysis, a lot of the prisoners are not privileged. I tell you, they are not privileged to be part of this decree. The decree has some complicated conditions. And if I'm permitted here, I'm going to give the complicated conditions for people to understand how unbearing the decree is. First and foremost, people who have not been judged are not partakers of this decree.
Absolutely.
Secondly, persons who committed something like homosexuality, rape, political prison, and those who are considered as terrorists are not partakers of this decree. Now, if people who have been sentenced to death, they are not given life imprisonment, which means they will still be in prison. Now, let's consider that, like the Kondenge case I gave as an example, we have 3,866. Now, only 453 have been judged. Now, in these 453 who have been judged, these are the people who are even beneficiaries of this particular decree. Okay. So we have about 3,300 and something persons out of the decree. Coming back now, within these 453, there are also people who have life jail. Their life jail is sentenced to death. Their sentence to death is being transferred to life imprisonment.
Absolutely.
That cuts it down to another 200 and something persons. So if you look at it critically, and then among these people who have been sentenced to prison, there are also persons there who committed acts of terrorism. There are also persons there who have looted state funds. There are also persons there who have also committed rape and other things. These persons also are not part of it. So let's say in a prison of 3,860 people, we have just about 200 and something people who are going to be free. Let me ask you, how does it solve the congestion problem? How does it solve COVID-19 problem? Thirdly, if they come out of the society, what are the security measures that have been put in place in order to avoid them from committing more atrocities as far as the nation is concerned? We have not been given any prior information on how these persons who are going to be freed from prison, when they come out, what are the parameters they are going to do? For instance, the people who are dropping guns from the southern and northwest crisis, the DD Arukam has been set aside to contain them. These people who are being removed from the prison yard, how are they going to contain them in the society? Have they set up some vocational trainings, some camps that they are going to build them up, orientate them, and give them something of livelihood, because something must have caused them to go to prison, probably idleness, joblessness, stealing, rape, or something of that sort. Now, if something is not done to rehabilitate these ex-convicts, it becomes another crime to the society. We already have enough problem now in the country. To release them again without giving them direction, we are going to pose ourselves another problem in the country. I think that's something that they have to look into before they carry out the decree.
Okay, thank you so very much, Mr. Biya. And if you're just joining us, you are most welcome to the program Views on the Continent, an informative and of course interactive program where you get to share your views. And today we are talking about the decree signed by President Paul Biya of the Republic of Cameroon. We are analyzing this decree and how it's going to solve the problem of overcrowding in the prisons all over the national territory, and also asking if it is in line with the fight against the COVID-19 in Cameroon. If you are just joining us, you are most welcome. Time to open our lines as we go straight away to get Far Tayong Elvis joining us right away. Welcome to the program, Far.
Good afternoon, Clarice.
Hello to you, Far Elvis. Go on with your contribution.
Good afternoon to the people of Gunoko village in Momo division. Once more, Far Elvis Tayong calling from Douala in Cameroon. Well, regarding the presidential decree as per se, we would begin by saying that it's a good effort, it's a good initiative. At least it's a step taken by the Yaoundé regime to make an effort after we have cried over and over the weeks for the prison situations to be taken into consideration in order to curb the spread of COVID-19. We thank God that the regime in Yaoundé finally listened to some of the stakeholders who were crying foul to the present situation in the prisons. But then we all understand that after this, just for the fact that it exempts cases of corruption, rape, embezzlement, and terrorism, well, we still have another question in it, because if the law comes into play, the law should have been able to take into consideration the kind of crimes that constitute the majority in our prisons, that make the prisons too congested. These are the things they will need to look at if truly the law is to decongest the prisons and to reduce the spread of COVID-19. But when I look at the law itself, it simply tells me that all of these parameters were not taken into consideration. You would realize that when you ask the question, does this seek to solve the overcrowded in prisons? It only seeks to reduce the overcrowded nature of the prisons, but does not solve the problems as per se. Because from the limitations of the category of persons to benefit from this presidential decree, it tells you that only about 2 to 3% of the overall population will benefit from it, which means that the prisons themselves will still be overcrowded. And it defeats the purpose of decongesting the prisons in order to reduce the spread of COVID-19 as per se. In another instance, we equally have to understand that the issue of state security being guaranteed is already taken care of. Because when the state is releasing persons, the release with documents and undertakings, that entails or that requires that if you are found wanting again in the same crime or similar crime that brought you to be remanded into custody, it will simply be a double prison term for the fact that you took advantage of such clemency given. And so I think at the level of state security, I think that one is guaranteed. Our main worry here is to say that when people think that is a
Very much, Far Elvis, for contributing and sharing your views on this very important topic. The President of the Republic of Cameroon signing a decree. Of course, so many analysts are asking and also saying that the decree, Mr. Ambe, that is actually very limited and it will not have much or a heavy impact on some prisoners or majority of the prisoners.
It's obvious that it will never have any impact on majority of the prisoners because the thing is, it's handpicked. People are handpicked in a multitude of persons to be given this clemency. Yeah. To me, the general notion of the fact that the president has given a decree to free prisoners is to give an impression in the public and to the public that our president is doing something very great. But those people who get to the details and study the analysis of this decree will have to understand that it has not solved a problem. Probably the idea is imparted in the minds of men to give an impression that the president has done something very great. But what has he done that does not solve the immediate crisis we have on ground? We are talking about decongesting prisons. We are talking about the spread of COVID-19. Now, if more persons are still in the prison, it's like coming in an ocean of water and you get a cup of water out of it. It doesn't affect the ocean. It remains there. There's still much water in the ocean. So what is being done is that if you go to the national territory, you want to check critically, most of the persons who are in prison, they are still awaiting trial. They are still awaiting trial. They are still awaiting trial. They have not been tried. Absolutely. And this thing is for those who have been tried, those who have been sentenced. And among those who have been sentenced, there are others who have been sentenced to death. And sentenced to death means that they are going to reduce it to life imprisonment, which means it doesn't even take you out of the prison. Absolutely. So if you come back in a nutshell, you realize that almost everybody is a victim of what is considered clemency. Everybody is a captive for what is being projected as liberation. So it's some kind of captivity wrapped on with the identity of freedom. If you don't break the package, you won't be able to understand what is inside. What they are giving us is like putting cockroaches in bread. Until you open the bread before you will know there are cockroaches inside that bread. Yeah. What is called liberation? If you crack the coconut, remove the shell and enter inside, is still captivity in another form.
Absolutely. Let's look at it this way. Some reports held that the Human Rights Watch actually called on the government of Cameroon to look into this, the matter of prisons, like reducing or liberating some prisoners to actually curb the spread of COVID-19. Can it be a move by the head of state to actually show to the international community that the country is actually at work and trying to curb the spread of COVID-19 in prison centers?
You know, our country is a country full of so much wisdom. Wisdom in the sense that it always does things to convince the world that they are walking on track. Sure. And if you actually get to the details, some of us who are right down here in Cameroon, we look at things not the way the world sees them. If at all the Human Rights Watch has been singing the song of decongesting the prison and avoiding the spread of COVID-19, this could be an act to convince the world that something is being done. But some of us are on air here to make the poor understand that what seems to be some kind of emancipation and clemency and liberation is another form of captivity presented in another package. Because if you look at it critically, to me as an individual, analyzing the whole stuff, there is no level of liberation as far as this particular clemency is concerned. Secondly, there is no level of solution being proffered to the problem we are having. If at all the freedom of the prisoners does not solve the problem of decongestion and equally the spread of COVID-19, then it has not done anything as a whole. So the issue is we are giving the world an impression that we are responding to your demands, while actually on ground nothing is being done. That's the truth. That's the truth. And so you see, most of the times in Africa here, that is how things are being done. Now, when you want to talk, they will say, no, the president did this, he did that, he did this, he did that. The ordinary man who does not seem to understand the whims and the caprices of the operations of the system will obviously celebrate and appreciate. Just like when sometimes Europeans will say they have cancelled our debts in Africa here, we get excited. They are the ones owing us. Yes, sometimes you hear France say we cancel Cameroon debt. Cameroon and France, who is owing the other? So it's sometimes a kind of, how do I put it? There is this grammatic expression, or there is this slogan that I have to fit it. That somebody that the Bible says, okay, let me come from a biblical point of view.
Sure.
They say angels of darkness appearing as angels of light. Now, something that does not actually represent something is coming out as something.
Yeah.
To me, in the actual sense, as a political analyst, looking deep into the very fabrics of this particular clemency and this release, it hasn't solved the two major problems which the Human Rights Watch has complained, as well as many Cameroonians have complained. And any solution that is being proffered to a problem and does not solve the problem is not considered a solution.
Okay, thank you so very much. Let's go now to meet Mr. Shu Gerard joining us right away. Hello to you, Shu Gerard.
Clarice, hello, viewers of Afrique Media. This is Shu Gerard calling from Yaoundé, Cameroon. Yes, the move by President Biya to sign a decree committing some prisoners is a good move in the country, but I know that the move was politically motivated because he wanted to debunk the widespread rumor in the country that he's not alive and that he is not incapable of running the country. But of course, this has shown that President Biya is strong and powerful to rule Cameroon. Of course, this will go a long way to decongest a bit the prison. But what we are waiting, looking for the president is that in the bid to fight against this coronavirus, the president would have released all prisoners from prison, even including those who are guilty of terrorism act and so why not, who are exempted from this decree, so that this issue should not penetrate into prison, because you know the people are so wicked and some people can decide to infiltrate this thing to the prison politically or willingly in order to contaminate the prisoners. It has happened in other countries where all prisoners have been released by the government, and we are waiting for that to happen in Cameroon. But this move is just in a bid to solve the problem, but not actually what we are awaiting. However, the outing of the president decree and the appointment of Joseph Owona as member of the Constitutional Council is just to show that the president is there, he's still at duty, and that we should not be panicked that he is not there, even though some people have been saying that he should come out and say something, even though the president has not spoken publicly, but in writing, he is working and he is acting. But we need more of the degree so that the Anglophones, prisoners in prison, the list of Anglophones should come out from the prison so that the Anglophone crisis in Cameroon can be solved, because that was why many people were waiting to see whether the provisions of the committing decree involved the Anglophones, leaders and prisoners who are in prison, but we discovered that they were not involved, and also in state funds, like most of the ministers who are in prison, but they were not involved in the decree. So we are still waiting for the president to sign more decrees ahead in order to do something, so that, especially the Anglophone crisis, so that the leaders can come out and
participating. Mr. Abel, want also to analyze this more on this intervention from Shu Gerard. Of course, do you actually see this as a political move by the head of state, given that there have been rumors all over the national territory and questions why the presidents will not outrightly address the nation in face of this pandemic? So, is it really a political move?
There is nothing in Cameroon that is apolitical. So asking that if it's a political move, it's amazing, because everything in Cameroon, right to the educational system, is political. So it could be a political move in the actual sense of what Mr. Shu Gerard said, that the president wants to make his presence known. But I don't think if the president wants his presence known in a country, he will not address his nation. People are not, the president is not afraid of his people. They are not wolves. They are not lions that are going to devour him. Absolutely. He's been speaking to this nation for the past 38 years, and nobody has scared him from speaking. At least it's understood that he's been silent for a while, and one video of him is circulating around the 80s that there is force, there is power in silence.
In silence.
And I think that is his own mode of operation. That
just like a philosopher.
Yes, he keeps silent in order to like raise eyebrows in the country. Him staying without addressing the nation, to me as a Cameroonian, is a serious concern, because there are a lot of speculations around that he is dead and this and that. We don't want to get into that. But the issue is this: as a father who deserves the honor from his children, he's supposed to stand and address the country, because the Bible, our motto says that our motto is peace, work, fatherland. We need a father that's supposed to come up and stand up and address a moment of crisis like this. So if they say it's a political system, this is not today we began politics in this country. Everything in this country is politicized. So if Mr. Shisha says political, it's not strange. It's not strange to me. It's very, very. As a matter of fact, what is in this country is not political. Everything in the country is political.
Let's look at it from a humanitarian perspective.
From a humanitarian perspective, that is not humanitarian works. If you look at it critically, a person will call humanitarian somebody that has feelings for humans. Somebody can go the extra mile to make sure humans are in order. Now, what sort of humanitarian work when people are going through a crisis? Number one, the father is silent. Number two, he wants to grant clemency to free people. He still leaves the place more congested than even before the clemency ever came. Now, does that even solve the problem? It doesn't solve the problem.
Okay.
It doesn't solve the problem. So if it is humanitarian works and that is supposed to serve the purpose for which it was sent outside.
Okay.
Yeah.
Before coming back to you, let's go to meet this caller joining us right away. Please tell us your name and where you are calling from.
Media. My name is Solomon, and I am calling from Dublin in Ireland.
Your contribution. Go on with your contribution, please. You're on air.
Okay, thank you very much. Well, yeah, I just want to make my own modest contribution to the program. Yeah, regarding the act of the president, that's the president of the Republic. For my opinion, I think it's a complete distraction. You know, I don't think it's something which we have to be happy about. You know, there's nothing to be happy about that. It's just a digression, you know, of the actual situation which we have in the country. Basically, what most Cameroonians are expecting the president to do, as far as those prisoners are concerned, is to release all the Anglophone prisoners whom he caught or who they caught, you know, and jailed for absolutely no reason. Have we ever cared to ask the president how many Anglophones are in the prison? How many Anglophones have been arrested? How many of them are in the prison? And how many of them do they keep on arresting every day? We don't know the amounts. We don't know how many of them are in jail. They have never told us that. They have never told us how many of them were caught or how many of them have been jailed. And what we need in Cameroon actually is a situation where it can give people hope. And you know, what he just done does not give any hope to the people. It doesn't raise any. It doesn't give any. Show any light at the end of the tunnel. Also, we all know that the situation in the northwest and southwest is still burning. So he wanted to release prisoners both to show any act of magnanimity or any act of encouragement. He could have started by releasing those prisoners, not only releasing those prisoners, those Anglophone prisoners. He could start how many of those prisoners, how many Anglophones have been caught and incarcerated in Yaoundé. If we know the amounts, and then he tells us that, okay, we have 1,000 or 2,000 or 3,000, and I have released this amount, that can be a good sign. That can be something which we all can hope for some good things, you know, in the future. But he hasn't done that. So basically, you know, what he's doing now is just, you know, to divert the public, you know, or to divert the public, you know, from actual situation. In the first place, you know, where is he? Why is he only signing degrees? Why can't he not come and address the people? I think what we all should do, should do, you know, is to keep on, you know, those authorities, you know, to set the people free, because, you know, there's absolutely nothing, no decree which Biya can do or can pass now, which will solve the situation in the country. That man has lost all the confidence of the people. He has lost all the legitimacy of the people, and there is nothing which that man can do which will assure the people. Only thing which that man can do to assure the people is to speak the power, is to speak and let the new and younger generation take over that country. African media, thank you so much for giving me the time to talk to you guys. Thank you very, very much.
Okay, thank you also for trusting the Pan-African Television, and those of you just joining us, you are most welcome. You can participate on the program by dialing the numbers you have on your screen. We have less than 10 minutes to be together, and of course this is a program meant for you to share your views on what is happening in Africa and of course the world at large. But today our focus is on Cameroon, looking at the decree signed by the president of the country granting or reducing prison terms of some prisoners. Mr. Ambe, let's go again to clarify, of course, our viewers out there that because they are actually accentuating on the Anglophone prisoners or prisoners who are there or detained because of the Anglophone crisis. But now looking at how the decree reads, it doesn't actually apply to those who have not yet, probably whose judgments have not yet been passed. So how do we actually relate the two?
Clarice, like I said earlier, and I'll be repeating the same thing, you have to understand that this thing is completely a game. I will call it a game because if at all we are going to grant clemency to prisoners in Cameroon, it's supposed to affect every individual from all stratas. The Anglophones are first of all considered as terrorists. That's their crime. Terrorism against the state. And amongst the people who are supposed to be granted clemency, the terrorists are not even part of them.
Of course,
that's the first thing.
Major crimes.
Yes, they say they are not even part of those who are supposed to be granted clemency. Secondly, most of the people who have been arrested, from personal one-on-one discussion with some of them, you will realize that their cases have not even been called once in court.
Making it very problematic.
Make it very problematic and complicated. Now, somebody who is not even among those who are supposed to be liberated, secondly, his case has not been called in court. How do you expect him to benefit from such a thing? And you want to realize that the prisons here became overpopulated as a result of the arrest of the Anglophone, which means they make the majority of most of the prison yards. Yeah. And now most of them, they are not even part of the decree. In other words, the people who caused the overpopulation in the prison are not even given the privilege to be part of this decree, which means the overpopulation maintains. So for us to be talking that a decree has been passed in the air to solve this congestion in the prison, it's absolutely an anathema. It's confusion, because why? The people who are supposed to decongest the prison before the Anglophone crisis, did you ever hear that we had overcrowded prisons? They weren't. All the prison yards in the country were liberal, they were open, there was some flexibility there. Yeah. Now, when this crisis came, people were being carried to the prison after every second. I know of a certain pastor who just wrote recently asking for the president to consider his case, and that he was just very, very innocent, and he found himself in the circumstance. The thing that caught me in his statement was that they have not called his case even once in court. Such a person is absolutely out of the context of this clemency and this decree. Now, how many of them, let's consider that there are about 5,000 Anglophone prisoners in different prisons across the country. Now, their cases are not even part of this clemency. How do you think that the prisons will not remain congested? I cannot be sick and you administer me a drug that does not cure me and you call it solution. This is the solution. If at all this decree, the intention is to solve the problem of the congestion, insecurity, and the spread of COVID-19, then it's supposed to affect almost everybody.
Absolutely.
Everybody. The extreme cases you can even avoid are people whom we see they are very wild and they are murderers who have caused a lot of atrocities. We can now reduce the terms of jail and then leave them in prison. Sure. But those who went there because some raid came into their community and they were arrested haphazardly without proper investigation, because there are many people in incarceration right now who do not even know the crime they committed. Sure. But because their environment, their vicinity, their village was a victim of a raid, they became part of this particular crime. Now, there are many prisoners in prison who are not criminals. Many in prison who are not criminals. How do you identify?
That is the question.
That it is funny enough to realize that this clemency can end up sending out of the prison staunch criminals and living in prison innocent people.
Of course, thank you so very much. We go again to meet this caller joining us right away. Hello to you. Welcome to the program.
Hello, Clarice, and viewers across the world. It is a pleasure being part of this very elusive program today. I am Innocent Yu. I am at Ejiki Mabunji Bush, just the gateway to the city of Kumba. Of course, you know Kumba is the breadbasket of the southwest region. Well, you have a great talking point there today. And these are initiatives that are expected in every warring issues around the world, at every society. Before I comment, I have listened to human rights activists dissecting the kinds of crimes people have been jailed for in this particular country. The reason why people are jailed and why people have to stay in jail for more than 25, 50 years and even more. And it looks like to have a case against the government of Cameroon is equal to pushing a hippopotamus to go through the eye of a needle. And also the fact that there has been a long cry, even from international organizations, for some set of persons to be released from prison and also to decongest the prisons. I bet you there are hundreds and even thousands of persons who are behind bars today, who have never been tried, or who don't even know the crimes for which they were imprisoned for. I even doubt if some of their names are in the books, you know, because you are arrested, you are taken to prison, and after some months or a year before you are even taken before, you know, before a magistrate or whoever, to start giving a statement, or before your name gets into books, before the trial comes, you may have languished or you have spent. Let me not go deep into that. Now, these calls have been long before now been going on. For example, let me just give some little statistics. Before 2017, when the first mass arrests were affected in Cameroon, then Konengi Maximum Security Prison alone, around that period, had between 5,000 to 7,000. We can verify. Now today, there are still between 8 to 10,000, even more, who are around Konengi and also in some other prisons around Cameroon as of this particular moment. Now even though some hundreds were released even before the Grand National Dialogue, there were some hundreds that were released, but at the same time, some hundreds again were still arrested, you know.
Thank you so very much for participating and sharing your views as far as this topic is concerned. Well, we keep having your calls or your opinions as we go to meet Mr. and Derek. Thanks for joining us. Hello to you, Mr. Andy.
In Bamenda. Hello?
Yes, you're on air. Go on with your contribution.
Yeah, I want to. My name is Kingsley from Bamenda. Yes. I want to contribute, like supporting what the panelists is saying there. I want to contribute, like supporting what the panelists is saying there. Yeah, because if you look at this decision by the president, I thought that this COVID-19 is a sickness that, it's really destroying the society, it's killing everybody. And when they say they want to, like, reduce the prison and the inmates there, they're supposed to.
When you are calling, do not listen to yourself. Do not listen to yourself while calling. You can call again and give your own contribution, but we give priority still to the caller. But let's go to Ivory Coast to meet Indeed Derek. Thanks for joining us.
Of Afrique Media, my name is Derek. I'm calling today from Ouagadougou in Burkina Faso. I would like to say that the action of the president of Cameroon is one that is highly welcomed and is quite very good, though it comes at a time when we had all prayed and asked for interventions and all this, and it has come even though a little bit late, because you know, this is Cameroon being around the fifth or the fourth position country that is contaminated by this virus, would have been one of the countries that would have taken more measures faster enough to be able to contain and to stop the continuous spread of the virus. And so you see, since I started by saying that it is a good action, the president has done something that is laudable, because the COVID-19 is spread by proximity of people. And we know that our prisons in Cameroon are highly congested because of the socio-political situation in the country, be it from the northwest and the southwest, or the after elections of 2018. And so the people that the president signed indicating their release is not yet very clear, and we do not know how many numbers will be leaving the various prisons in Cameroon. Just last week in Côte d'Ivoire, over 2,000 prisoners were released. The other day, also here in Ouagadougou, the president has signed some prisoners are going to be released, a good number of them. And we know already that our prisons in Cameroon are so congested, be it in all parts of the country. And you know, if the situation is not very clear, we will not know how effective this decision is going to really reflect the safety of our prisoners. I want to look at the two people that have been exempted, those who have been charged for terrorism and those who have been charged for political instigation. So it basically means that those who were jailed for the post-electoral conflicts for 2018 are still going to be in prison. And you know very well there are so many of them. We cannot even mention the situation in the northwest and southwest. The prisons in the northwest and the southwest are super congested, and many of them are in the central region. So the idea of decongesting the prisons and not allowing these ones to go, for me it seems it is a good idea, but it's still clouded by some sort of not being very clear on what the state really wants, because there are so many in prisons, and it is going to be very difficult for these people. Some are already dying, we heard, and it's very sad, 3 people have already gone, and we are praying for them. It is true that prisons are places where people suffer, but death we do not wish for anyone. So we pray for the best for Cameroon, we pray for Africa, and we pray for the world for COVID-19 to come to an end. Good afternoon.
So very much indeed, Derek, from calling from Burkina Faso. Mr. Ambi, after identifying the controversies or the limitations to this decree, and what proposals can you give? Of course, we have just 5 minutes to be together. What proposals do you have to give in case the government of Cameroon has to fight overcrowding or to contain the further spread of COVID-19? What is the way forward? What was the best thing to be done?
Considering the issue of the president's decree, he has done good, but he should not allow his good to become the enemy of his best. There is still a best to do. The president has done something good, but the good should not be the enemy of the best. There is a good, better best. And the president has done something good, but the good is not good enough to solve the crisis. So I think he should go to his best by giving opportunities for other persons who are in the prison here to benefit from this decree. That's the first thing. Secondly, I want to appreciate the effort done by the state to enforce some of the measures like the putting of masks, hand sanitizers, and washing of hands. They have sent military men and police and gendarmes into the field to enforce this, which is very important. But I also think that they will cause more atrocities, because something happened recently in Nigeria. People were stoning a car loaded with food that it's rather dangerous to die of hunger in the house than to die of COVID-19 outside. I think these three ministries in Cameroon are supposed to look into this matter. First, the Ministry of Finance has to disburse some amount of money to curb the crisis, because every country is fighting this crisis with money.
Absolutely.
And we have not had the Ministry of Finance done anything as far as this crisis is concerned. Second, the Ministry of Commerce has to do something with the reduction of prices of commodities as far as it is concerned. And also the Ministry of Health supposed to do something by bringing out testing kits, because why? Melinda Gates said a few days ago that the reason why we have not yet known that there's so much of the crisis in Africa is because we don't even have testing kits to check if people are sick or not. That there are a lot of potential carriers who don't even know that they are sick. I think the Ministry of Health has to work very hard to bring in more kits into the country to make sure they detect the cases wherever it is necessary and to control internal circulation and avoid the further spread of the disease. If that is what they can apply for now, I think it will go a long way to solve the crisis.
Sure. Okay, yeah, I thank you so very much for being there and for the brilliant analysis. And to those of you who participated and made the program worthwhile, thank you for always trusting your Pan-African television. And immense thank you to the technicians for ensuring a smooth run of the program. And it is on this note, ladies and gentlemen, that I say goodbye. As we draw the curtains into this program, but don't go away. Do have a nice time in the company of our transmissions.
Nous arrivons